Everybody, it's Tyler with Gaia Force Gaming, and I'm here today to talk about, again, Beelstarmon. So I went to Gen Con. I basically just got home. There were a ton of delays, so I got in really late, so I woke up this morning and I just wanted to record this real quick before I get back to the work grind. I played in the Thursday Ultimate Cup. That profile is up already, along with Trey and Ben's. We all did pretty good. We all came top 32. Trey came top 16. Super cool, super hype. I didn't play in either of the regionals. I participated in one of them, played a couple rounds, and then I was like, I want to go do the con. I already have my invite. I'm going to leave this to sweat it out with you guys. And in the Sunday DC1 event, I did play, and I wanted to try really hard, and technically came 8th. I say technically because we did run into a little bit of a snafu. I'll talk about that after the profile, but I just wanted to share the profile with you guys. I went 4-1. There were only 5 rounds for the DC1 Grand Prix, and the list is very similar to the other one, so your mileage may vary, but I did want to talk about that along with talking about this. Join the Discord to see how to win this once the next set drops. But this will be our next season's playmat. The proof finally came in. So, Beelstarmon. Without further ado, let's talk about this. So, for the eggs, we played the 4 Demi-Meramon, of course, along with the single Pagumon. I like this Pagumon. There was one instance where my scatter mode didn't die, because I boosted it because I wanted to discard a card. So, I prefer to discard cards from your hand instead of milling from the top of your deck, because you get to kind of choose what you place in the discard pile. And there are other reasons why the 1k boost does come up, like when you want to swing over your opponent's stuff, or just in general. And honestly, sometimes Eismon not dying isn't the worst thing, just because you do want to kind of aggress in this meta a little bit. I'm a fan of this Pagumon. It could also be the one that lets you mill 2 on deletion. For rookies, I played 4 Gabumon from BT2. You always want to see this one. He is just so strong. The ability to draw 2 and discard 1, piled onto your other abilities, just adds up and feeds your engine. I played 4 Gazimon. The memory blocker is insane. I'm a big fan of Gazimon, especially in matchups where you don't need the memory block. You can now go into 3 of the Gazimon X, which lets you, on evolution, mill 3. So it gives you a cycle, gives you 3 mill. Again, I went over all this in the last video, but if you're watching this one, I appreciate you as well. We did 1 Psychmon. And this is just for mirror matches if you run into them, along with, honestly, the security control matchup. It helps them pass you more memory for certain cards. And also D-Reaper. If you get this out against D-Reaper, you're very, very good spot. It's very little they can do to outvalue you. And a single Dracmon to recycle options. I did play a security control matchup in which, once you get to late game, you just Dracmon, get back Calling, get back Dracmon, Beelsmon, or Beelstarmon, and it just, the game will keep going until one of you decks out, or you just finally finish them off. For champions, we played 4 Scattermode. Of course, it's the best card in the deck, I think. Just the ability to draw 3 and then discard 2. On top of this inheritable and this inheritable, you really fill your trash up quick. 2 blockers, because we are in a very fast, aggressive format with multiple checks, and you would rather let this die than take several checks off security. Speaking of several checks off security, I run the 1 of EX Ogremon, and that's a big reason I like Pagumon. Just he does tend to survive. If he survives 1 check, they have to answer it. It just is such a tempo up card, and I'm a big fan of it. That being said, this is probably one of the more flexible spots in the deck. I don't think it's necessarily needed, but it can add a lot of pressure where your deck doesn't otherwise have pressure. I run the 1 Ginkakumon Promote because the rush does still come up. off of Nailbone, either getting this back or evolving for one over the champion. And the one Doberman, which helps, again, your slower hands be a little faster. They can get back pieces. I tend to toolbox this more than anything else. It's like an aggressive toolbox deck. So, of course, for Beelstarmon, she makes the whole deck work. She's insane. I really love non-linear decks like this, which I've talked about ad nauseum. So, and then the two Dexmon, it still comes up. There are plenty of games that Dexmon won me that I shouldn't have won. And also evolving over the Beelstar is very strong. People almost never see it coming for some reason, even though I keep talking about it. Then we have the two blue memory tamers. It gives you your blue source to be able to turn on blue options. It does come up. Something that came up in the Ultimate Cup that I would like to shine a little bit of light on once I read this card a little closer. The way it's worded, the 7 cards, having 7 or less cards in your hand, is not part of the effect, it is part of the trigger. So what that means is, the way it reads is, if you have 7 or less cards in your hand, you may suspend this tamer to draw a card. So, not that it mattered in the game, but we did check with a judge. That means that if you have 7 cards in your hand, when you swing with the level 5 or higher, you have fulfilled the requirements to be able to suspend both, and you will still draw 2 cards because the draw is not predicated on having 7 or less, just to suspend. Just a little food for thought. I did get an extra card out of that for what it's worth, so that was kind of cool. For the options, we'll start with the cheap ones. I played one Deathclaw, just a generic all-around answer. If they have a floodgate, you could pop it. If they're building outside of raising, you swag with one of the guys you want to die and it doesn't die. You can, make a really good trade. I'm a fan of it as a one-of, especially since Dracmon can get it back. I have 3 Calling for Darkness. This card is insane. It lets you actually toolbox the deck, and it makes the deck a lot faster than it should be, in my opinion. It can also just be an inherent +1 in some situations, so very, very strong. 2 Mist Memory Boosts. Last format I wasn't a huge fan of Mist Memory Boost, but this format, I think it does open up plays. There are certain times when your opponent's playing, the building game. If you can't aggress, you need something to be able to pass turn, and this is a really strong way to pass turn. Just milling 2, drawing a card, and then having 2 memory for a later turn. 3 Nailbone. I think it's minimum 3. I think in this format, Nailbone, just setting up a presumed lethal is very strong. So you want to be able to present lethal to your opponent as much as possible, just to make them play in an awkward way. And once you get to free Beelstar, there's nothing better than playing a Beelstar, killing their board, or answering their board in whatever way you need to, and then playing another Beelstar Nailbone, calling, popping the Beelstar, getting it back, Nailbone again. You have 6 things on board. One of them's a Psychmon, so they can't dex you. Just feels very, very powerful. As for the 3 musket removal, we do run the 4 fly bullet. Of course, it's your most generic kill spell. It's the one you're going to get the most mileage out of because you don't need Beelstar out. You have the purple. I do play the 1 happy bullet. It's very strong. It can hit multiple things. Against security control, he was down to 1 card in his deck. He was not Avenge Kidding quite yet, and he had 5 security, and I knew the Avenge Kid would eventually come because I had only hit 1 in security, so it was either in his hand or the last card in his deck. But what I did at my turn is Happy Bullet. I had Happy Bullet and he had 2 Salmons. So what I did on my turn is swing into the security. Didn't care what happened to my bodies. I just needed to take 2 security, which I did, and then I was able to Happy Bullet to make him recover. It could have been any kill spell, but just against security control in general, they're dropping a lot of multiple bodies. Happy Bullet really helped clear triple Magna, double Salmon, stuff like that all the time. It was very strong. 1 Gavault. I did not play this on Thursday. I did put it back in over one of the Howling Crushers, because with the rise of D-Reaper in popularity, your only real removal options are these 2 cards, so you're going to want to recycle them and reuse them a lot in order to actually clear board. Again, I think I was trying to make this a little bit too streamlined, and I did kind of lose focus of the fact that this is a toolbox deck. At least that is how I like to play it. For Cocytus Breath in this format, it is like the #1 answer to a lot of strategies, and I really do enjoy the blue package. And finally, the single Howling Crusher. I almost dropped it all together, but you have to respect Wargreymon X as a deck, and this is a great answer to Wargreymon X. It's a great answer to Alphamon as well, for what it's worth, but just overall, this was what I played. I think Beelstar is really good. I think you have a lot of breathing room, a lot of room for creativity in this deck, and as long as you're comfortable with getting kind of bricky hands and playing through them, this is a very powerful deck that you can take advantage of. Like I said on Sunday, the little snafu, we only had 5 rounds, and that was because the event started at 11, and we had to be out of the event center by 4. So every round, they were just like, oh, we might only have 5 rounds, we might have 6 rounds, it depends. And we did have a couple of security control players playing, so every round did go to time and turns, which really pushed it. Even against me, we would have gone to time, but we had an extension for a very complicated rules interaction. There was a game state was kind of messed up, and the judge had to fix it. But every one of my opponents was super cool. The entire weekend, Gen Con was a blast. There was no saltiness. There was no people being. It was everyone hyping each other up, and I just want to say that was so great to see. I had such a good time. I had such a good time hyping up my friends. So many of my buddies and people in the community did really well. Mario won an event, came second. Max came third at an event. Nobu came third with Green Hybrid at an event. Grayson came first at an event. We had a bunch of GFG members get their invite if they didn't already. Congrats to Ben for getting your invite. We had DA members topping and winning, like Grayson. Fernando also, I think, got his invite if he didn't already have it. He also came, I think, 11th place at the. They all get jumbled because it was 4 events, and I'm trying to keep them all straight. So I'm sorry. We just had such a good time. Limit Break, taking home so many of the Gallantmons. Congrats to you guys. That was sick. But yeah, so we had to be out of the event center by 4, so they wrapped it up at 5 rounds. It was very disappointing. I was a little frustrated about it because I felt like they could have been more transparent about it, or we could have started at 9 like we did most of the other days. We started at 9 twice, 10 once, and then 11 on Sunday. And Sunday we had the least amount of time, so that felt really upsetting to pay for a full tournament and only play 5 out of the potential 7 rounds that it would have been. But it's not the TO's fault. I don't think they were given that information until the day of, so that's really unfortunate. The biggest problem is, instead of being at the Gen Con event tables, which are open past the event time, we were at the football stadium, the Lucas Oil Stadium, and I believe those workers of the stadium are unionized, which means they can't work overtime, and hopefully, it's looked into a little more next year, because I was really excited that our in-person events weren't having the same problems the online events were, and of course we had a small hiccup. But that being said, this was, I snuck into 8th place, for what it's worth, technically. Who knows what would have happened with 2 more rounds. May have made it, may not have made it. The point is, this deck can make it. I do believe that I came 22nd on Thursday, and I think I could have played both of those games a little bit better. And I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I really like Beelstarmon. I really like the Digimon card game. I'm still floating over Gen Con and having such a good time. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. I told myself I'd record enough footage to make a blog, but I really just don't have enough footage. I was too busy having the time of my life. So shout outs to everyone. If I saw you, if you said hi, if we hung out, you made my weekend so much better. I love you guys. Have a great one.